amazing. Okay. I'm Surreal Vasquez, and like I said, it's a pleasure to be here. I am a triple certified functional practitioner that helps women reverse hair loss naturally, as you mentioned. And I started off with a career in traditional, conventional medicine. For 10 years, I was working for a specialty pharmacy, helping people get the cure for Hep C and HIV. And though I think that is amazing for those disease states where there's a cure for Hep C and people don't die from HIV, when it comes to the management of something like hair loss, not necessarily the best option out there. I tried getting on medication. I got on spironolactone, and the side effects were horrible. I couldn't I couldn't even do my job because my breath was just so rancid from that medication. People didn't want to talk to me.
Wow.
And I also was unable to get pregnant on that medication. Yeah, it's not only did it throw off my hormones, but there was a label that said there was a risk of having birth defects from this medication with my unborn children. So I knew that wasn't a long-term solution. And yeah, the doctors, they were my friends. I called on them, right? So I showed up with a binder this thick of labs, and I had a glossary. I mean, who else do you know
Yeah.
had a glossary with, and I put different page numbers, and I showed them, look, on page 32, my carbon dioxide was high. And on page, 27, my hormones, my estrogen was high, and all of these different things. And so I realized after getting very little progress that I was going to have to try to figure this out on my own. And that's when I spent $75,000 that I didn't have. I want you to
Mm.
say, I want you to know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out functionally, if my hair was able to grow when I was born, then how can I make it grow now? There has to be something I can fix to get this to happen again. And that's exactly what happened. And so I obtained different certifications in functional medicine and then just went crazy testing everything. And now I'm in a position where I not only reverse my hair loss after 10 years, and I had it bad. I mean, it was like down here. It was
Mm.
just like, huge gap. I had it up behind my ears here. I had like a hole right here. It was super thin and see through all through here. It was horrible through the bottom and the nape area for whoever's not watching this and who's listening. Behind my ears in the center where the line is, just it was just thin all over. And yeah, I'm in a position now where I'm able to help not just myself, but other women reverse their hair loss naturally, focusing on what they're eating, what their lifestyle is like, and using specialized supplements specifically for them.
Mm. Understood. So, dear listeners, you have listened to one of our great guest, Cyril Vasquez. So, it's a great intro from her, and as you all have understood, like what we'll be talking about today, yes, we are talking about the revolution of hair loss. So, which is empowering women to reverse the thinning naturally in 2024. Yeah. So I'm your host Avik, and just to mention very quickly, as Cyril's vision in is a world where hair loss is no longer hopeless, replacing the
Mm.
stigma with the empowerment. So we are thrilled to have her share her journey and the insights today. So Cheryl, like, welcome to the show again. And to start with, I mean, if you can share, like, you mentioned the uh, combining ancient remedies like with the modern functional medicine. So how do these approaches work together in your practice?
Oh, what a great question. Okay, so, well, as someone who has a background in specialty pharmacies, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, there is a place for medicine.
Mhm.
There is a place for being aware of all the different symptoms that are happening all at once. So on the modern end,
Hmm.
now that we know what we know
Hmm.
in 2024
Yeah,
about different body systems, the endocrine system, the digestive
hmm,
system, the lymphatic system,
true.
and what symptoms emerge from those systems being dysfunctional,
Yeah,
I would say that is a great thing to add to ancient remedies like herbs, topicals,
true.
eating an antioxidant rich diet, void of inflammatory foods. And so taking this approach creates an atmosphere where the body is finally able to heal itself,
Exactly.
right? We cannot expect that if we have a fire fueling inside of us that is literally burning us from the inside out,
Yeah,
that we're going to put out that fire if we keep adding fuel to the fire. And that fuel in 2024 is genetically modified foods, a lot of sugar, even in what we think is healthy food, right? We'll eat these green smoothies that we're buying from the store, and we don't know that they have 39 grams of sugar. But it's from kiwi, they'll say. It doesn't matter. Eating more than 20 to 25 grams of sugar in a day, especially for those of us that are deficient in magnesium, which is basically everyone because we have such a high exposure to sugar
hmm,
and our soils have been depleted, right? So the message I'm trying to convey is if you're not supplementing with magnesium, you're pretty much magnesium deficient and you need magnesium to help deal with sugar in your body and you need it to help modulate your blood sugar. And we, as intelligent consumers, should be aware of what is it that our body is in need of that it isn't having right now
yeah,
that is creating these symptoms. And how can we preemptively avoid them? So one of the things I have my clients do when they are going to participate in the drug of sugar, because it is a drug,
exactly.
it releases all these different hormones inside of you that make you feel amazing. So it's a drug, right? When I have my clients participate in that drug, I ask them to supplement with magnesium at higher levels than they normally would so that they don't have as many symptoms from that exposure. And so that is part of practicing functional medicine, understanding how the body is supposed to function, where it all goes wrong, and what to do to help remedy it.
Understood.
Sugar, sorry, I was going to add, sugar is actually an anti-nutrient because when you consume it, it is literally stealing magnesium from you so that your body can try to
Hmm.
deal with the sugar you just exposed it to. So it will deplete your organism from different minerals and vitamins that you would otherwise use for detoxing, that you would otherwise use for healing, right?
Exactly. That's very,
That's
very
the
true.
point.
Yeah. So also, like here, one more thing is like because when we are talking about this, uh, it's also very important to understand like what according to you are some of the common misconceptions about the hair loss that you encounter, and also how do you address them?
So good. Such a great question. Well, the biggest one I would say is, but I thought it was genetics.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, my dad was bald. Actually, my dad is bald. My mom is sitting here in one of my master classes actually had a picture up of my mom and dad and how they looked when they were younger, how they look now, how I looked in 2020 when my hair was a mess, and you know how I look now. And I said, look, this is my genetic quote unquote destiny. However, you don't have to end up that way if you don't want to. The reason they ended up that way was because they had exposures to different toxicants. They had exposure to different insults as they were getting older. And their body tried to deal with it by making their hair thinner or making it bald. And I'll explain. One of the reasons that people take spironolactone or certain medications to help reverse their hair loss is because of DHT. Have you heard of DHT before?
Yes, yes.
Who hasn't, right? Everybody has, if they're interested in their hair regrowing. But what we are starting to uncover as of late is that DHT, though it is present in people that have androgenetic alopecia, or so they diagnose it that way, it isn't necessarily the reason why the hair is miniaturizing or falling off. They're noticing there's a relationship between DHT and prostaglandins actually have the ability to constrict and contract within your body in order to repair damage within you. And so there's this hypothesis that what is leading to your hair getting worse from this excess DHT is not exactly the DHT, but the prostaglandin that comes to the scene when DHT shows up. And for people that are producing excess DHT, they almost never ask why. Why all of a sudden are you producing more DHT? This is what they like to label as genetics. Well, DHT is actually a very true form of testosterone. And the reason I say that is when you have testosterone, testosterone can be broken down into different hormones through the process of aromatization. However, DHT cannot be broken down any further. DHT is testosterone, will always be testosterone, will not change into anything else. And testosterone, which is a hormone, actually has the ability to modulate inflammation.
Okay.
So people that are producing excess DHT could potentially be producing it as a genetic gift to modulate inflammation, not as a curse, but as a gift.
Okay.
It's your body's ability to try to make you live longer. It'll say, you know what? Yeah, you might be getting thinner hair from this, but we're trying to keep you alive. This is Operation Stay Alive, okay? Screw the hair. Let's modulate inflammation.
Yeah.
And there are so many different examples in the human body where, for example, someone that has high cholesterol, they are creating excess cholesterol because they have arterial tears. So the body's full of arteries. And when you have excess inflammation, your artery may tear from that inflammation, and cholesterol will show up to the scene. The good cholesterol will show up to the scene and plug that hole.
Oh.
When it plugs that hole, the good cholesterol is supposed to come over and take over the rest of the bad cholesterol back to the liver. But when you're not producing enough good cholesterol and you have too much bad cholesterol, then you end up getting the bad cholesterol oxidized. And that's where you get the plaque in your arteries. And so this high cholesterol is not a genetic curse. It is a genetic superpower where your body said, well, we got to deal with this inflammation. So let's increase the cholesterol to try to fix this. But when we aren't assisting the body through that process, eating the right diet, reducing inflammation, which is one of the 5 non-negotiables to reversing hair loss naturally, then we have a scenario where we consistently have high cholesterol.
Oh, thanks for sharing this. It's very, very important and very informative also. So, okay, the nutrition and the lifestyle definitely plays a crucial role in the approach. So, in your approach as well. So, what dietary and the lifestyle changes do you typically recommend for someone who is actually struggling with the hair loss?
Yes, wow. Most people that ask me that question are not ready for the answer.
Okay. Okay.
The reason I say so, Avik, is because as soon as I tell them, they start giving me all the excuses. They're in denial. They just want to work around it.
Okay.
So I will say there are 5 inflammatory foods that once we remove these from the diet, we help create an environment for the body to be less inflamed and to be able to heal itself. Now, there may be extra food choices depending on that person and how compromised their health is. Or it may be that they don't experience as many symptoms when they eat one of these 5 foods because they're maybe healthy enough where they're not feeling as many symptoms but still having hair loss, right? And so these 5 foods are sugar of any kind,
Exactly.
fruit, all bananas, just way too many grams of sugar. There are labels on most of the packaged foods that we eat that express how many grams of sugar are in there. We want to keep that number below 20 to 25 grams of sugar in a day. And if you are eating a whole food like a broccoli that doesn't have that, you can always Google it. So sugar of any kind in excess, and certainly we do want to stay away from the processed sugar. So
Exactly.
any kind of sugar that we're consuming, we want that to be natural sugar. Almonds have sugar. There's sugar almost in everything they eat.
Understood.
That's a big one. Yeah. And then gluten,
Okay.
that is a huge one. Gluten is in bread, gluten is in cookies and cake, but it's also in rice and corn, which are 2 more on the list.
Okay. So then what people will eat at the end?
There's
I think
also
a lot
berries.
of a lot of people will definitely ask this question.
I told you weren't ready for the answer.
Exactly.
I get so much pushback. Yes, dairy is another one. So those are the 5 foods. And what do you eat? That's a good question, Avik, because everyone always asks me the same thing. They feel like I've taken away everything that they eat all day long that they enjoy and makes their life worth living. Well, there are beans,
Okay.
right? Lentils, pinto beans, navy beans, the beans. There are also gluten-free pastas that are made from beans.
Okay.
So you don't have to feel that deprived if you're someone that likes to eat pasta. If you like eating rice, there are gluten-free grains or seed-like grain. Quinoa is one, buckwheat is another one. You can still, there's gluten-free oats. You can still consume that. Being aware of how many grams of sugar you eat in a day, you can still consume that and not feel as deprived. And then they even make bread out of almonds, out of cassava.
Okay.
They make tortillas out of chickpeas. There are so many different options, especially in 2024.
Okay.
And then you have your lean proteins. If you're not someone who's vegetarian, if you are vegetarian or vegan, I would recommend fermented tempeh as a protein source, as well as some of the grains that I mentioned as a protein source, beans as a protein source. But if you are eating meat, go ahead and have your organic chicken, your organic turkey, your shrimp, your fish, wild caught fish, all of those, and root vegetables and regular vegetables, sulfur-rich vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, as well as root vegetables. So I'm speaking about cassava, carrots, beets. What else is there? There's so many when it comes to root vegetables. Sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, and I'm speaking about broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, carrots. I think I mentioned carrots already. Onions, garlic, all of these foods, we can actually eat them more often than we believe and have an amazing life because we're symptom free.
Hmm.
So many times someone is feeling amazing And the next thing they know, oh, I have a headache. Oh, I feel tired. Oh, I feel bloated. Oh, I have a pimple. That could possibly be from what you're eating. And it could also be from your environment, which is something else that makes people sick. Some people have a allergy to dust. They have
Yeah,
an allergy to mold. And those things can be causing your hair to be thinner.
true.
So yeah, and then nuts and seeds. That's the last group that I would say is
Okay,
something you want to incorporate into your diet as well.
exactly. Understood. So, in your experience, how does the toxicant exposure impact the hair health? Just on a curiosity basis. Yeah.
Mm, wow. The cost of being alive in 2024
Mm.
is, besides the lack of privacy,
Okay.
it's certainly the common exposure to all different types of toxicants, heavy metals, hormones in your food, genetically modified organisms, hormones in the plastics, in your makeup and your toothpaste, there's fluorides, all these different toxicants. Anyone who does a hair mineral analysis test will find heavy metals in there because hair, because it's made of organic matter, it will pull from your bloodstream whatever is present at the time. And so in a way, your hair falling out almost becomes a secondary form of detoxification because
Got
of that. In general, your liver and your kidneys, your gut, your skin, those are your major organs for detoxification, but your hair becomes a secondary detox uh, function when you shed it and there's heavy metals in it. Nonetheless, to answer your question about, your question was how often we're exposed to the toxicants. Is that, what was that the question? Or how are we aware that it's causing our hair loss?
So yeah, I mean, how does it impact?
How does it impact it? So the body has one important mission and one alone, and it is keep you alive. That is all it cares about, right? And so anytime we suffer from these inconvenient symptoms, it's really just the body trying to keep you alive. The body doesn't make any mistakes. So when you have the heavy metal, the EMF, and all these different toxicants into your body's going to say, oh, that is way too much right now. Let me take some of this and wrap it up in fat and store it, right? Or let me take some of this and put it in nervous tissue, which is made out of fat, or your brain, which is made out of fat, right? So now you have a body that is holding on to toxicants all the time, and it's doing it. Maybe you have stubborn fat that you can't get rid of. Maybe you're bloated all the time and you can't lose weight. All these different things play into it. And so when your body's doing that, because if it didn't do that and it just let all the toxins go crazy in your bloodstream at the same time, your kidneys wouldn't be able to keep up. Your liver wouldn't be able to keep up with the rate at which it needs to decompose all of that. And so the toxins will be in your bloodstream creating free radical damage all day long. Free radical damage affects the health of your cells.
Exactly.
It can damage your cells. And we age because we have damaged cells. We have, if we're eating enough antioxidant rich foods and we're being consistent with lifestyle practices that help the body detox, and with our rate of exposure of these toxicants, both things at the same time, we can reverse the signs of aging by helping the body mitigate the damage from all of those toxicants. And so what causes the toxicants having a role in making your hair fall out is
Mm.
because your body will say, for example, intelligent effluvium. Your
Yeah.
body, if it had enough magnesium, if it had enough antioxidants, if it had enough things within it
Yeah.
to deal with all of those toxicants, then it may not create, your body would not create a stressful experience within it where it's going to release stress hormones, where it's going to create an inflammatory event where your hair follicles are going to be triggered to turn over a new cell. So the cells in your hair, they turn over very frequently. We have a hair that's growing in the follicle, and it's growing long, it's in the anagen phase. When it moves out of that phase and it's only resting on your hair, there's a new hair growing under it. That is a new cell, right? That was made with new stem cells for hair. So that old one is going to fall out, and it's going to fall out with the toxicants that are in it. So your body just likes to do whatever it can to keep you alive and protect you from all of those harmful toxicants, and it'll do it at the expense of your hair. Like I said before, when you have an inflammatory situation in someone that is just chronic and always continuing, the body will create more DHT. You know, will do what it has to do to modulate that inflammation. So there are different ways. It's not just one way, but there's different ways where the body will try to protect itself from damage and end up either creating scar tissue around your hair follicle, which makes it thin out, or it will make your hair fall out to protect itself. Because if it has, let's say, a chronic infection in the scalp from, I don't know, candida overgrowth, or because that your scalp has pH that is hospitable for that organism, then, and it can't get rid of it, it can create scar tissue just to try to freeze, you know, and create an atmosphere that is not hospitable for that.
True.
If that makes sense.
Exactly. Understood. Yeah. So quickly, if you can share in 2 words, like advice you want to share with people in 2 words.
In 2 words. No sugar. Or let's be realistic, low sugar.
No, that's really, really true, because sugar is something which definitely harms our body, and definitely we should avoid it. Yeah. Great. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on this journey through the world of natural hair loss reversal with one and only Sharil Baspage. So her passion and the expertise in the functional medicine have shown us that hair loss doesn't have to be permanent, and that empowerment begins with understanding our bodies. So, if you have been inspired by today's episode and want to learn more about her approach or to connect with her directly, I'll request Cyril to mention like where people can find you.
Oh, well, I would direct everyone to my website, which is Belcanics, BELLECHANICS.com, belcanics.com. If you are wondering, do I have the type of hair loss that is reversible naturally? From what I understand, my hair loss is not reversible. And I just want to know if I even have a chance, I even have an hope. Because I heard that scarring alopecia isn't reversible. And I heard that androgenetic alopecia isn't reversible. And I heard that I can't get my hair thicker. So regardless of what you heard, there is a quiz on my website that can help you understand if natural regrowth is possible for you, considering the results that we've gotten for past clients. And so all you have to do is put in that same website, belcanics.com/quiz, or you can just go to belcanics.com and click quiz at the top. And there's 97% of hair loss is reversible naturally. But if you want to know if you fall into that category, definitely take that quiz. And then at the end, there will be an opportunity for you to book a consult with me.
Wow, that's really, really lovely. So, dear listeners, definitely you should connect with her and learn more about her work and her approach, definitely. So do not forget to subscribe to our podcast as well for more empowering conversations like this one. So remember, your feedback and reviews help us to continue bring you more valuable content like this. So until next time, keep nourishing your body and the mind, as I always say. So stay tuned for more episodes and the next episode where we explore more insights into cultivating the healthy mind and a healthy life. So take care, be happy, and thank you so much.
Thank you.